What's good, yeah? Yeah. This is the first What If of the month. I'm sorry I didn't upload yesterday, so for that I'm gonna be uploading two. This one's gonna be the first Halloween one, and it's one of my favorite kills on Dead by Daylight. He's Deku. Is power is gonna be called Furrow Frenzy, and if you don't know what Furrow Frenzy is, it's basically the Legion's ability in Dead by Daylight, but I'm gonna tweak it more to make it fit into, how it works. Now I'm gonna explain Feral Frenzy before we start. Feral Frenzy in Dead by Daylight, because he's the only killer that can run. His is a running that can cause deep bleed, and in that deep bleed, it shows the. Excuse me, I had to do something. In that deep bleed, it causes what is it called? It calls deep bleed or mend, which you need to heal that, then heal yourself. It also allows you to see other people in close proximity. And for that, it's like I'm gonna say it in the only thing that really changes is the fact that, as I said, Deku is the Legion, and here's what changes about the quirk and not the power now is the power has the same effect, but instead of having like, when Deku stabs someone, he'll have like the more he stabs, the more bloodlust will be released. Therefore, looking like Stain's fear factor, or what I'm gonna do an example is, but I need to tell you this now. No, he doesn't have it. Think of it like hockey. The more bloodlust he has, the stronger it becomes. And if you have too weak of a will, you will pass out. And yes, Deku is a villain, because how you're gonna be a hero with the legions with Furrow Frenzy. Now, how I start this is Deku was basically born and raised around. No, wait. Deku and Toga are brother and sister. No, hell no. Hell no. No, we all know why I'm gonna say no to that. Is because like that's the ship for this, because it makes sense. Two people with blood quirks, and the only reason why I'm saying no is because the fact that they're brother and sister, the story won't work out the way I want it to, because no one has a blood quirk besides them two. So I'm gonna say Deku grows up an orphan, and I know people saying, "Oh, an orphan, so original." It's not like I've heard this like 10,000 times with any other what if user. Well, I can give a fuck about what you heard, because this is mine, and it goes a bit different. As yeah. I know, so original. He basically, and yes, I'm gonna use terms from the age from about 6 on. He got, what is it called? Griffith. Yeah, he got Griffith. And no, I'm not excited about that. I was just excited about because I remember the word instead of saying what people aren't supposed to say. Now, for those people who know what Griffith is, or who Griffith was in Berserk, you know what I mean. For those who don't, that means you are A, too young to watch it, B, you didn't watch Berserk, and C, I'm not explaining it in my comments, so fuck off. If you do know it, then you know. If you don't know, then you don't know, nigga. So I'm gonna continue. With that happening, he, like, at a certain point at 10, he got tired of it, and he met this young woman. Not woman. Would it be woman? I don't know. Japan is weird. I mean, Japan at the age of 12, you're pretty much an adult, which is fucking weird. It's the age of consent is 12, which is weird as itself, but I'm not gonna talk about that. In Japan, so I'm gonna say this young girl named Himiko Toga. 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 I'm just gonna say it like that. Sorry, Toga. Can I see your togas? Can I see your togas? Can I see them toga? Hey Himiko, I haven't seen them toga. All right, toga. I had to get that out. All right, so he met Himiko Toga, which she has a blood quirk, and she explained her quirk to Deku, which was, like get blood from someone, gain their ability. And Deku felt like something was speaking to him. And yes, I'm enforcing the entity in it for those who play Dead by Daylight. And in fact, for those who don't know what the entity is in Dead by Daylight, he runs the Dead by Daylight games, or whatever the hell you want to call it. And he's the person who sends out killers to, go against survivors in a random map. So he hears the entity basically says, "I bestow upon this stupid ass kid," and just throws like feral frenzy at him. And he basically explains the power to him, or now is his quirk. And how would no, he wouldn't just throw it at a dumbass kid. He would see Deku as like, entertainment, because the Dead by Daylight games aren't a thing yet. So he needs Deku to be a form of entertainment for him. And as such, that's what Deku becomes. With Feral Frenzy, Deku learns of it and tells Toga. Toga basically would be like, "Oh, that's neat. Like, it's almost the same as my quirk." And these two would do many things with these quirks. But it wasn't until the age of about the anime, which is the anime was about like 14, 13. About, yeah, 14, 13. I say they've gone into a few crimes, such as like robbery. Yeah, actually, that's pretty much it. All they did was like rob and break into places, until one fateful day where a robbery gone wrong at night. At night, they weren't expecting a janitor to be there, and when they were basically robbing the place, or stealing, Toga got grabbed. And in this moment that Toga got grabbed, Deku activated. Actually, he didn't activate it. It kind of happened. He ran up and stabbed the guy. And in that moment, when he stabbed the guy, he passed a knife to Toga, and Toga stabbed the guy. And they both continuously stabbed him and stabbed him and stabbed him, looking like let's just say he was left holy with no water. So after that, basically, that's when Deku finally got the full version of Feral Frenzy, and he's seen like, the basically. I'm explaining what it looks like when you hit Feral Frenzy in Dead by Daylight. It looks like a web is basically beating that way, and it's making a beating noise, basically showing you like that's where they are. And in that moment, he's seen that there's someone else in the house, and his bloodlust exploded, and he ran up, killed them, then continued to do that all across the fucking every place. Every time it went off. And then when he ran out, and yes, this is actually the cooldown for it, he was out of breath and had to catch his breath after he went on a spree of killing 10 people. Now, with these 10 people, this is basically when the police showed up. And, him and Toga got out of there, basically pulled a ninjas in the half shell and went down the fucking sewers. But it didn't take long before heroes. The fucking League of Villains heard of the story of two, two kids, because yes, there was cameras in the place. They had masks on, so it's fine. The mask will be in the fucking video, so. Sorry, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm doing this. So with that being said, they seen the mask and said there's two, because they kind of best the age, 13, 14-year-old kids that went on a stabbing spree and killed 10 people. And the League of Villains heard about this, and Shigaraki peeked up at that. He was like, that would be a good addition to the team. The Nobu whatever guy, I can't never remember his name, was like, I don't know. They seem kind of unhinged. And Shigaraki be like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, think about it. This kid went from robbing the place to killing 10 people. And Shigaraki said something, and then Shigaraki and him went back and forth on it. And then Shigaraki said, "I bet you something happened to where he kind of had to do it." And then afterwards, his quirk activated or something, and he continued to do it. And basically, like they agreed upon that because it makes sense. And they're like, "Okay, time to find these kids," which is kind of hard because I'm gonna just say this now. Deku been left that orphanage at like 10. He left that orphanage after. I mean, after he just left, he just packed his shit and left. He just said, "I'm fucking out, peace," and left. And after he left, basically, what the orphanage went through is basic shit. You know what basic shit is? It's basically, oh, same shit like last time. Except Deku, like, after the crime spree, Deku had, like, I'd say about a week. No, wait, it wouldn't even be a week. Because Toga would basically, him and her are, like, they're at the point where, like, they're in this together. So Toga basically was telling him, like, hey, it needed to be done. And basically calming him down and telling him it's all right. You killed 10 people. It should be fine. So Deku basically is, like, calming down and getting used to the sensation of killing people, which in the Dead by Daylight games, all the killers had to kill someone in order to get used to it. And I'm like tell the killers like late on the weekend actually. Saturday I'm gonna do a what if, and in the beginning of the what if, I'll explain the entity and all the killers before I get into the what if on tomorrow. But for this one, I'm gonna say I mean, Shigaraki. I mean, they'd find them, but it would be this event. Shigaraki basically figured that okay, so this kid probably doesn't have parents, and he doesn't know about Toga yet. Like he knows about like his accomplice because they wear almost the same mask, but he doesn't know about Himiko. He more focused on Deku or Midoriya. He doesn't even have a name in this. He's just named the Legion because there's two of them and they're just named the Legion because I don't know the duo, but people like no, the Legion sound better because we don't know how many there are. Because after they did it, many other people started wearing the mask and donning the same thing just so they can frame them. So therefore, they got the name the Legion. And basically, this is how I explain Deku got a cult following now. And with that cult following, there are people who feel like Deku does it for this and do it for that. Basically saying like he does it to live, which he technically did. He does it just for the fun of it, which he didn't. Um, basic stuff like that. Many stories about how, like the original, the two Legion beginners are Legion. And with that, that's how the Legion started. The Legion started with two people, but people started multiplying it. And kids their age thinking, like, why not? I mean, these two are villains and they did this. I can't. And I don't have anything going in my hero work. So why not be a villain? Why not be that next villain that changes the world? And then they're like, but I don't want to be that. I don't want to have the spotlight. I want to have a normal life. So they don the Legion mask, which is a huge problem in that world because imagine you have two people running around that were originally Legion. I got a million, like, say 20, then 30, then 40 of these motherfuckers popping out of nowhere on robbing, killing sprees, doing dumb shit with the Legion mask. And you don't know if they're the real Legion or the fake. So you're just sitting here like, you're in a fucked situation. That's what the police are in. Now, while Deku and Toga are laying low, the Legion is spreading. And Shigaraki is like, okay, none of these are the real ones because they only want to kill 1-2 people, while the original killed 10 in one sitting. So I'd say it would take Deku about a week to resurface. And in that resurfacing, basically, him and Toga basically decided to... Deku basically remembered how life was at the orphanage for him and what happened to him later on because he refreshed the memory. Then it came up, and he was furious. And that's where everything kind of took a turn for him to go into the League of Villains. Because I'm gonna say it, on one night when everyone was asleep, the frenzy started. Deku basically walked into the orphanage because yeah, it's a shitty orphanage, and he killed an adult, then another, then another, and it just kept on going. He didn't kill any of the kids. He just killed the adults. The adults that did it to him, the adults that seen it happen didn't say shit. Those that knew it happened and didn't say shit. Basically, he killed every single adult in there. And when the teenagers tried to stop him, he killed them too, thus tallying the death toll up for him to 30. And, the police would hear about it and respond to the place. No, Himiko wasn't there. Himiko was basically like the person telling them like, "Hey, you might want to get out of there," and Deku wasn't listening because he went on the spree and he couldn't stop until Himiko basically he heard the police sirens. He was like, "Fuck!" And then he was like, "Himiko, why didn't you tell me?" She was like, "I was trying to tell you the entire time. You lost yourself again." And he was like, "Fuck, fuck, 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 fuck," trying to figure a way out. Then all you hear is that little, whoosh in, and we all know what that whoosh is. It's the Nomu guy. He basically peeks in at Deku. No, Shigaraki will pop in and he like, "Hey, Legion," and he will look at him like, "Who the fuck are you?" With the mask and so at the knife out with that's dripping from blood. And Shigaraki says, "I'm the head of the League of Villains." And Deku basically looks at him like, "And the fuck do you want with me?" Give me a second. Yeah, and I left off with the fuck do you want with me? And Legion, and I was about to say Legion. And Shigaraki will respond with, "I want you to join the League of Villains." And Deku says, "And what the hell do I get out of that?" And basically, Shigaraki would say, "The same thing you get out of this killing people and stealing." And Deku says, "And why would I do it with a group of villains, per se?" And Shigaraki says, "Well, either you join now or you're gonna spend, let's see, your whole life in prison." And Deku was like weighing the options real quick, and then all of a sudden the door would get busted, and he was like, "Deal." It jumps right in the portal, and they see Toga gets pulled into the portal too, like 10 minutes later, and that's how they join the League of Villains. And he caught Deku at the wrong time, and Deku was basically like, "I can't do anything about this." So, yeah, that's the Legion. So where we are, and I know everyone's wondering, where are we in the anime? Well, we're at the part where it's the entrance exam, which is a while away. Actually, yeah, it is a while away technically, because he didn't get one for all in the story. So he actually will never get one for all in these stories, because they're with these powers he would not get one for all. All right, so I'm gonna say this with the who would get one for actually? It will probably be Miro or or Fallout Boy. I call him Fallout Boy because he looks like the Fallout character, so I call him Fallout Boy. But we all know him as Miro or La Million. So yeah, La Million got it. But in the time span that Deku and Toga being in the League of Villains early, well, Toga being in it earlier, and Deku being in it now, they basically learned how to. Wait, they learned. I mean, Deku learned more fighting than anything because they seen Deku way of doing it was good, but it was barbaric, and it would relied on sneak. And after he was exposed, he couldn't really do much besides try to stab you, which against many heroes it wouldn't do much. Hmm. That being said, he actually learned many. He learned the beginners in many fighting styles, but it's mostly hand to hand stuff, such as like um, fuck. Actually, I don't know what he'd learn technically. He'd probably learn something like he wouldn't learn Muay Thai. He'd learn like a fast fighting style. I don't know. Like he wouldn't learn shoot because shoot style is something made from one for all, as we all know. So I'd say he'd probably learn like karate or taekwondo or something, maybe even Muay Thai, something that because he does have powerful legs for him running all like that. So I'd say he learned karate, taekwondo, and Muay Thai, basically the basics of it. So he's strong in terms of fighting now. Well, he's decent, but he's kind of strong. So basically they balanced him out. With Toga, they realized her quirk relies on, other people's blood. So she has an abundance of faces now, but she doesn't she has the acrobatics too. The only thing she doesn't have is, the power. So as such they give her the same shit they give her in canon. Which, it fits her still. And now we do a time skip to where, the whole heroes versus villains thing. Well, not heroes versus villains, more like what I'm talking about. What was it called? The USJ? Yeah, the USJ. In the USJ, yeah, why I'm skipping so far is because nothing much will happen. Yeah, nothing much will happen. Because the Legion wouldn't make a, stand out until, he'd get into the USJ. And this is when shit gets hectic. It's the same thing that happens in Kenny, no. But I'm gonna go in before the thing. Now, before they go in, basically basically the team is Deku, Toga, Shigaraki, uh, the Nomu guy, and the actual Nomu, along with like randoms. And some of the randoms have the Legion masks, well, because they're multiple. And they would look at Deku and Toga and be like, "Oh, those two might be original Legion," and they don't really look like it. And then one person, who's like a deep fan of it, would realize the way he looks. I mean, stature wise, and be like, "No, that's them." And basically, they get hyped up that they're meeting and fighting with the actual Legion members, or the original two Legion, and morale is high with the villains now. That being said, let's continue. Now, before the attack, Shigaraki Deku basically asks Shigaraki, "Okay, I know what the hell he is, but what the fuck is that thing?" Before we get into this, and Shigaraki say, "This thing is made to take out All Might." And basically, Deku asks, "Well, how is All Might gonna get called?" And that's if All Might is there with them, and if All Might goes to the school in general. Basically, Shigaraki said he works at the school, B, he will be there, and C, I don't know. It's just a hunch that he'll be there. And Deku basically says, "We'll bring him anyway, but a hunch is a hunch. You don't know if he's truly going to be there. And whether he is or not, he's going to die today." And let's get to. And that being said, they give Legion a new knife, like because they don't give him. They were thinking before it was like, oh, why don't we give him like a big fuck all sword? And then Legion said, nope, that's not gonna work. And when they asked why, he basically shows him running with the sword, and it's a lot slower. That's why he runs with the knife, and it's a lot faster. So he learned knife fighting more than he learned, sword fighting. So that being said, time for the USJ or Legion's coming out party. Now, same thing goes as canon. He separates them. Legion is sent into, I'd say, the desert with Bakugo and no, actually, Deku isn't sent anywhere. He's basically in the front lines with he basically comes out of the portal with Toga, the Nomu, Shigaraki, and the other guy. I don't even know that guy. All I know, I'm gonna just call him Teleport because I never remember his name because to me he's a random. Well, he's not random, but you know what I mean. And he wait, what will really? No, nothing much really happened besides Deku basically, getting the heavy breath like Legion with the master. He'd be like waiting to fight. And I'd say after a while, Aizawa would basically start going off, and he basically fight, and then the Noma would get there, and until he gets to the Noma, Noma just drops the fuck out of him like in cannon, and Shigaraki runs up and would try to disintegrate him, but Deku would go strike ahead and basically stab Aizawa in the shoulder, and thus begins the blood streak. He would go through and I'd say he wouldn't kill the the students, but oh boy, they got a brutal stabbing. Bakugo got fucked up the worst. We all know why Bakugo gets fucked up the worst. Because Bakugo, upon seeing the Legion, he would think, oh, I should fight him. When no, he shouldn't have. And let's say, this is the cocky Bakugo that would basically see it as like, I can't lose, yada yada. He ran upon Legion, and Legion basically threw up the knife, punched Bakugo in the face, then kicked him. Knife fell down, grabbed the knife, and stabbed Bakugo in the back, dropping him. Then pulling out the knife and going on a frenzy against other people, against the rest. And Toga get the blood from the rest of them. So he would go on a stab, like Ochako in the hands. I was about to say Tetsuyu in the legs. Uh, Mina wouldn't get stabbed because she'd have acid and she'd shoot it as a fear response towards Legion, and because he isn't like the most dodging type. As soon as she shot acid at him, he basically moved and she moved fast enough to where he only cut her. He didn't like stab her. Like basically cuts Mina, stabs your Yairozu, and he'd miss Todoroki because Todoroki would shoot ice and fire at him, and Legion's not a god, so he can't just take ice and just keep it moving like a fucking champ. But he would go on to stab most of the other people because Pikachu would no, actually I'm gonna say the people he wouldn't. Basically, it would be Kirishima because he used Harden at the last second, and who else wouldn't get stabbed? Well, it would be Sugar Rush and the bird guy wouldn't get stabbed because they're out of the way. So that's the only people who don't get stabbed, but the rest of them are heavily injured, especially Bako. Bakugo's bleeding the fuck out right now. Because mind you, Deku beat this basically haymakered him twice, knocked him into the air, then came down with the knife full force in his back, and just dropped him. So a lot of people are bleeding out right now, and that's just most of the class. Earphone Jack girl, yes, she's bleeding out too. She basically stabbed in the stomach. Deku hit her with the shink shink shink. Yeah, the prison shank special. That wasn't a good sign. I promised two today. I'll probably end up doing two today. So the prison shank special, and then that's pretty much it. Then All Might would show up, and upon All Might showing up, he would see the Legion and would blitz the Legion first. But shit doesn't go that way. As soon as he goes to blitz Legion, Deku would try to jump back, but the no be like Orara! And basically that whole thing would happen. Him and I was about to say him and the Legion. All Might and the Nomu going basically having a 1v1, but Deku doesn't know about honor, So during that whole thing with All Might and uh, the Noble going 1-on-1, Legion snuck up behind All Might and stabbed him in the back multiple times in different places, thus weakening All Might. And the Noble basically, in that heat of the moment, punched by All Might in the mouth, and then in the stomach, then basically did the hammer fist and slammed him into the ground. And Legion basically kills All Might, like right there on the spot. He just moried him basically. Like as soon as he was on the ground, he continued stabbing All Might until he died. Like just straight in the back, just do 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 do. There was no stopping him. And upon everyone seeing this, it was then be reported that All Might later on died, and that the Legion basically killed All Might, and the League of Villains basically won the day. And that's how the League of Villains came out, and basically they would get away because multiple heroes would show up, and I'm pretty sure they don't want to get shot. Well, I don't want to get shot, and they basically get away. But in that search, All Might's dead, and that stuff happens, and news will break, and all of Japan is basically in fear at the Legion now, because everyone basically knows that the League of Villains have a new powerhouse on board, well, new freaking power team on board, and they're named the Legion. And the leader of the Legion, which his name was basically redacted because he never truly existed, or in their eyes, because he was an orphan, they wouldn't be able to find who did that shit at the orphanage. They just call him the leader of the Legion. And that's how shit goes. The only things that will happen is UA Class 1A will not base the shit in canon wouldn't happen. Like the hero exams wouldn't have. I said the hero exams. Basically the tournament arc would happen, but it would be just Class 1B. And we all know why, because Class 1A got barred. Bakugo was on life support. Uraraka basically got like several stitches, like a lot of stitches and staples in their hands. Everyone basically got fucked up besides, some people. And the people who didn't can't go to class for a couple weeks and or months. Because Aizawa is on life support. He didn't die. Deku didn't have enough time to finish the job on Aizawa. But Aizawa is also on life support. So that means Class 1A has been utterly foobarred at UA, which was, in terms of people, 1A was seen as the biggest class of freshmen in the region. This added on the fact that Legion, basically a teenager, killed All Might. People trying to speculate what his quirk is, but they don't know what his quirk could be. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, because the Legion, I like this one, actually. The Legion makes sense. And before you say anything, oh, well, the power scaling makes no sense. How is the Legion able to kill All Might? Well, the way I did it was, Legion played it smart. He didn't fight All Might one-on-one. He stabbed All Might in the back. And this isn't one-on-ones. He said, I don't give a fuck about your one-on-ones, and stabbed All Might in the back several times during the fight. And why All Might couldn't turn around to stop him, because as soon as he turned around, basically the Noma will go, bah, and fuck him up. So he had no choice but to take the stabbings or get his sheet beaten, and he was just in a fucked up situation. Shit went south for him real fucking fast, because you got a Nomu beating the shit out of you, punching you in the mouth. Then you got Legion stabbing you in the back, and you just in a very fucked up situation. And there's nothing he could have done. Because the second he would have went for a stupid smash, Deku, I'm legit. If he would have went for a smash, Deku would have, because he had to load it up, he'd have to do the flick and all that. Deku would have like hurry up, slid his like went up and slid him. And this is with the knife. So yeah, that's how it goes. And yes, the power scaling makes sense. So I'm gonna leave it off here. Thank you for listening to the Legion, and stay tuned for what comes out later on today, hopefully. And about the whole scary thing, I'm not playing Alien Isolation. Um, the only reason why I'm not is because I'm bad at games like that, and not because it's not scary. It's because of the fact that if I don't get where it tells me like, oh, you have to find where it's supposed to go, I know I need an exact shoot of where I'm supposed to go. So yeah, I think I'm gonna just do what ifs and just post Dead by Daylight like this whole entire month. I'm gonna just say fuck that. It's the whole scary scheme. I mean, scheme scene. So yeah, I'm gonna catch y'all in a bit. Thank you for watching, and